So that's a great point. So Kate, can you tell us about some of the roles you've held as a trustee?
Yes, I've been a trustee at Greggs Foundation since 2015, but my 9-year term is wrapping up this year, sadly. My first job when I was 16 was at my local Greggs, so I knew then I was joining a company who wanted to make a difference for their colleagues, customers and communities. I'm also the chair of their grants committee there, and playing a small part in the foundation's growth and impact over the last decade is something I'm really proud of. And I'll be actively looking for a new trustee role later this year when that one ends. And also this year, I've become a founding trustee and independent director of Northern Power Grid Foundation, which is a new foundation supporting local communities with funding for energy resilience, fuel poverty and climate action.
Well, they both sound really interesting roles to me, for sure. And what about you? What would you like to tell us about some of the roles you've had or hold now?
Okay, just before I talk about the 2 non-exec roles that I have now, what I'd also like to mention is, and it's having been a school governor and chair of governors was a brilliant stepping stone for me in terms of moving to trustee or non-exec roles. So it gave me a lot of confidence, and actually being a governor has very similar areas of responsibility. So it's a great learning ground. So just wanted to mention that, Sharon. Currently, I have 2 non-exec roles. So I'm an independent board member and now chair of Your Homes Newcastle. And they're currently the housing wing who provide all the social housing management on behalf of the city. I started as a member of the Audit and Risk Committee, and like Kate, never been an accountant and thought, why on earth have they asked me to do that? But ended up chairing that committee, then became vice chair of the board and now chair. So that's been a brilliant learning experience. That role will end sometime in the summer when Your Homes Newcastle goes back into the council. And I've had that role since October 19. And then secondly, the role that I got because I saw the opportunity on LinkedIn is with a small consultancy called Prosper UK. And they provide procurement and new build consulting experience to a lot of social landlords and other landlords throughout the region and increasingly beyond. Very different organisation, small in a really interesting development stage. But like Kate, they've got a very strong set of social values, which was important to me. So it's a very different role to Your Homes Newcastle, but that helps with my appetite for learning.
That again sounds fascinating, and you must learn so much from the roles. So what would your key learning be from your involvement?
So I think for me, the first thing I would say is, as a non-exec trustee, you're not expected to be an expert on running that business day to day. And you're not expected to have all the answers. You're there as a member of a board or a trustee group. And I think it's important to listen and learn and respect the views of the board members. So that's a big learning point. I think for me, it's also been, it's exploded my understanding of what good governance looks like, and also about risk management and the importance to the business. I've never really considered that fully before, but my goodness, I do now. And also, I think for me, the important learning is to, and I think I mentioned it before, speaking to some of the staff, if you get that opportunity, is a great way of just testing your understanding what it's like to be part of that organisation. They would be some of the key things, I think.
Thanks, Anne. And Kate, what about your learning from the roles that you've had?
Yeah, I would agree that, being a charity trustee, which is my experience, is like a crash course in leadership, in governance, in financial management, and in making big decisions. And you can do that at any stage of your career. And plus, you get to connect with a really diverse group of other people, which I think is gold for personal and professional growth. I always look for people to learn from who think completely differently to me. And it's also a chance to not stop learning, to stay in the loop on key issues for the sector that you're part of, making sure you are, asking all the important questions that you need to ask. I think those are really key to being a good trustee fundamentally.
Thanks, Kate. And what about you, in terms of advice you would give to other women who are watching the video and thinking, right, shall I do it? So
the first thing I would say is the advice would be just to, if it's helpful, make a note of all the different areas of skills and experience that you have. Because I think most people, when you actually do something like that, it's actually quite illuminating. So start with, what have I got to offer? And also, I think the other thing to think about, the advice would be, why am I doing this? What is it I hope to get out of it? What do I hope to contribute? I think I always remember a great bit of advice I got from a very experienced lady who'd been on many boards. And her advice was, if you're approached by an organisation, it's very flattering, but do your due diligence. Because she shared with me that she'd been caught out in her early days, was very flattered. Oh, I've been asked, I'll join, and then realised the organisation was, let's just say, in a bit of a mess. So test your CV out with friends, simple things like that. And just have a look at, be inquisitive. What are the organisations out there that you'd be interested in? What do you see on their website about who's on their board or trustee group now? What sort of skills do they have, and what do you think you might have to offer? So I'll stop there. I could ramble on for ages, I guess, but they would be some of the most interesting places to start, I think, Sharon.
Thank you, Anne. Thanks. That's useful. And Kate, what advice would what advice would you have? Apologies, for women who want to apply?
Well, I'm a big advocate of women of all ages with both professional and lived experience, bringing their experience, their perspectives, their leadership skills to the trustee table. So I would definitely recommend looking into how you could get involved in that and make a positive mark. So just some practical advice like Anne that I've picked up along the way. Get as much information on the role of a trustee and what's expected. There's lots of resources out there. Do your homework on the type of charities and or organisations that you're keen to be involved in. Yeah. Like Anne said, recognise and write down your own unique skills. Boards want a mix of everything. Everybody is different. Don't worry that if you think you don't look, sound, have the same skill set as other people, that's not what everybody's looking for. Use your own network. Everybody's networks are different. Talk to people in your network about wanting to be a trustee. They that could then, recommend organisations or opportunities to you. Think about different sectors to the one that you may have some experience in. There's lots of different roles in healthcare and education, in the arts, and with young people. And also connect with other trustees for a bit of inside information. If anybody would like to connect with me, I'm more than happy to chat to people about, what the role of a trustee is. And don't worry about not having that previous trustee experience. Again, charities are looking for a real blend of mix of experience. And then practically speaking, be real about your time. especially for voluntary roles, this is not easy for everybody at different stages in your life, career, with your personal and home life. Work out how you might be able to balance it with the rest of your life, with jobs and children and care and responsibilities and everything else. And if it's not the right time, come back to it at another point. I do know that it's not always easy for people to give their time. But yeah, there's lots of practical resources out there, especially in the region, some great organisations who can help connect people with opportunities, or even just help give you that information if it's something that you're thinking about.
That's great. Thank you, Kate. And we will certainly add some links to the post that people can actually find out more information about various vacancies. And websites such as, is it
Vaughan, yeah.
Vaughan, yes, that has some great opportunities for charity trustees. So thank you, Kate and Anne, on behalf of Women North East Connected. I think we've covered a lot of ground there in a short period of time, and we look forward to chatting further at some point. Thank you.
Thanks, Sharon.